to this first story here, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, blah, blah, blah. But I want us to get to an update about a story that I covered a couple of weeks ago from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm sure you guys remember two black residents of Baton Rouge both filed civil rights lawsuits against the Baton Rouge police alleging that they had been subjected to illegal searches, they had been subjected to strip searches, they had been subjected to forms of sexual harassment slash assault as a result of these searches, and that detainees, people who had been placed in the custody by Baton Rouge police, were not being taken to the police precinct. No, they were being taken to a warehouse that cops called the Brave Cave. Brave, BRAVE, an acronym for Baton Rouge Anti Violence Enforcement, a specialized quote anti crime unit within the Baton Rouge Police that has come under increased scrutiny because of their conduct. And there's been a lot of developments that have come in the most recent fucking week and a half since I last talked about this story. Namely, that the anti crime suppression unit has been disbanded. They said, you niggas, what y'all thought this was? Training day? Some of y'all thought y'all was Denzel out here. No, 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 we cannot have that. Well, once it became public, that was. Until it was splashed across the national headlines, they was like, all right, y'all. Oh, y'all think it's training day? Okay, shh. Which one of y'all Denzel? we'll let y'all we'll let y'all come on true. But I want us to get this update. Hold on, let me pull up my source here, because like I said, there have been arrests, there have been there is now an FBI investigation that nobody asked for. that the FBI just said, we're going to step in here, and everybody was like, "Nigga, what y'all? What do y'all do? Anything? Does the FBI literally do anything? On occasion, they do, and I'll get to that in a moment. But it's usually nothing good. It's all usually very, perfunctory, et cetera, et cetera. But here we go. Let me get to this. So there have been 4 Baton Rouge police officers that have now been arrested. Coincidentally, this doesn't have anything to do with the Brave Cave stuff, but the fact that the Brave Cave reporting helped to spur, and I suppose it shed some more sunlight on some of these other allegations of misconduct from the Baton Rouge police. It's amazing what some investigative journalism can do. Like, you could actually, I won't say make changes, but you could get some shit might happen, as in the case with these arrests. So let's get the update here from WBRZ, not only about the arrests, but the way in which the Baton Rouge police had been accused of harassing and assaulting people suspected of crimes. They have been accused of trying to delete body cam footage, hiding evidence, planting evidence, the huge, the huge for the cops, right? So anyway, let's get the update here from WBRZ.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. First tonight, the fallout continues from the latest investigation into Baton Rouge Police. 4 officers facing charges of corruption in connection to a beating and tasing incident 3 years ago. We were the first to tell you about the charges Thursday morning. Arrest documents obtained by the WBRZ investigative unit are painting a picture of an apparent cover-up by members of the Street Crimes Unit, including their leader at the time, Troy Lawrence Sr. The warrants show it was Officer Todd Thomas who punched a man several times while being processed. According to a BRPD officer who witnessed the incident, Thomas then accessed an app to view the footage. That's when, according to the warrant, Troy Lawrence Sr. looked at the video and told Thomas he had to get rid of it. All of this happened at BRPD's 1st District, and the investigation began only a month ago.
True reform requires a close look at our practices, our policies, as well as our culture. And it demands that we learn from our missteps and commit to transparency and embrace change. We must continue to build trust with the community we serve And that means by actively engaging with our community, listening to your concerns, and making the necessary improvements.
To put it in terms that you can relate to, this is not a time for just an annual checkup. This is time for a full body MRI to diagnose and reveal any dysfunctions or wrongdoings. I owe that to the officers of the Baton Rouge Police Department, and I owe it to every citizen in Baton Rouge.
Now, the arrest adding a load of work for District Attorney Healer Moore. He says all of those past cases involving these officers will now need a complete review. News 2's Alexis Merity is joining us now. What's that process going to look like?
Sylvia Moore says cases involving the officers will be handled like any other. Still, those files are piling up on his desk.
4 Baton Rouge officers charged with corruption.
I'm going to treat them just like we treat anyone else, and but it will cause a significant amount of work.
Now the district attorney's office is starting from square one.
Again, these are officers who work lots of hours in lots of cases, and they're the ones that we generally see that are involving guns and violent crime. And so, that's what is concerning to me.
Reviewing the cases those officers initially investigated, that number totaling to nearly 1,000 cases.
I'm really not sure how we're going to handle the capacity of it, because we're pretty overloaded as it is as we speak.
To handle the workload, Moore says it's likely the office will bring in extra help. That could include counsel that isn't as familiar with the officers.
And these officers were very active officers that handled a lot of cases involving a lot of people that have some substantial records.
Now it's a matter of picking up the pieces and getting started.
So right now what the plan is to find out what the whole universe is of cases that could potentially be impacted.
They'll determine what role the officers played in that particular case and whether it's still provable without them. Even still, Moore insists these officers won't be treated any different.
These officers are also presumed innocent, just like anyone else. Right now we have allegations, and does one person's right weigh more than others?
And Moore says it's unlikely he will choose to recuse himself from these cases. He is urging the public, though, to send tips. He says the office will look at any complaint that they provide.
Alexis, thank you. A class action lawsuit was filed against the Baton Rouge Police Department today, alleging officers habitually strip search people without justification. The suit claims numerous police were stripped down, people were stripped down in an effort to humiliate, denigrate, and intimidate them. This as multiple people came forward saying they were unlawfully strip searched in a makeshift interrogation site that officers called the Brave Cave. A separate lawsuit exposed the warehouse used by the now dissolved Street Crimes Unit. Now, you can find all of our recent stories on Baton Rouge Police on our website at WBRZ.com. It includes the investigative unit report, statements from officials, and much more.
I commend this local news outlet and some of the other local news TV stations. I haven't read too much in terms of print reporting out of Baton Rouge, but I can appreciate the local news actually understanding the importance of a police corruption story, pattern of practice, of misconduct, of abuse of the public from the Baton Rouge Police, and taking it seriously. Like, make it lead fucking news, because it's important. Okay, it's not something that the police need the media's help in making sure they present a good image to the public. Nope. If the police want to do that, then they need to be better actors when they're out here in the community, right? There is no piece of media, print, digital, television, broadcast, radio, no media outlet should ever be trying to operate as public relations or run cover up for the fucking cops. It's not your job. As a broadcaster, as journalists, as people who are trusted with microphones and cameras and to tell the news and whatever trusted blah, blah, blah brands of media outlets in the community. No, your job is to tell stories prurient, prurient, maybe I'm fucking up the word. Damn, I sound like ear doctor. Prurient to the public interest. And this is actually top of that. And I wanted to have a couple comments about some things that were brought up in the package. First of all, the police chief of Baton Rouge. We're going to hear from him in a second because he went off on the Baton Rouge City Council in recent days. But for him to talk about, a culture of reform, just let it all serve as friendly reminders that when we see these black faces in these political misleadership classes, as chief of police, as mayors, as city council members, as governors, right? In a variety of different roles, you will find these black faces there to do the white master's bidding, basically. Just keep in mind, like that. Though these are not symbols of progress. It is not progressive that Baton Rouge has a police chief that is overseeing a force full of corrupt cops, probably like white police chiefs before him, right? Like that's not progress. For who was that? Baton Rouge's mayor or the city manager, whoever that woman was, talking about, it's time for a full MRI on the Baton Rouge. I owe that to the Baton Rouge police. No, bitch, you owe it to the fucking public, okay? You don't owe it to the police. You don't owe the police shit. It is the public that are the victims of the police. It is the public that is on the receiving end of this maltreatment and potentially dubious and false charges. Getting back to the second part of that package there, you guys, these 4 cops by themselves, and these not even the Brave Cave cops. These is different cops within the Baton Rouge Police Department. The fact that these 4 police officers themselves are connected to 1,000 active cases moving its way through the criminal justice system there in Baton Rouge should be terrifying. And for that district attorney to say with a straight face, on one hand, oh, all these people that, these cops had dealings with, these cases that we now have to go through, these people have lengthy records for, dangerous things. And then on the other hand, say, well, all these cops are presumed innocent. What about the 1,000 cases and the people connected therein too? Are they not presumed innocent? If anything, their presumption of innocence should be higher because they were felled or stopped or harassed or charged by these corrupt cops. That would lead me to think that all the people who are having their cases reviewed because of, some sort of connection to these documented corrupt police officers, that to me increases those people's preponderance of innocence. I think that they are likely more innocent than the goddamn corrupt cops that are facing charges now. So miss me with that shit. But it's just amazing, how all of the tentacles get intertwined with one another, right? You have these corrupt police that are a part of an inherently corrupt system. They corruptly do their job. They ensnare people within the system, right? And then the cycle keeps perpetuating itself. So when the cops themselves, in my opinion, are largely creating criminals. Like, and not to say that, everybody's not out here doing the right thing, but the police seem to have an uncanny ability to somehow compound, quote, wrong activities that folks are out here doing. For example, one of the people that are doing the class action lawsuit against the Baton Rouge Police was this woman we spoke about when I covered this story a couple of weeks ago, a 47-year-old grandmother who was legally transporting her prescriptions, her legal, valid prescriptions. And they tried to criminalize her possession of her legal prescription drugs. Like, make that make sense. I don't quite understand it. But here's another aspect that I found a little interesting, is that the Baton Rouge chief of police, who finds himself in the hot seat, who is overseeing this force full of corrupt cops, made an appearance at the Baton Rouge City Council meeting. And I just have an excerpt here. I think this is from actually the same station, WBRZ. But this man this man got loud, which was fine with me. I didn't care if he got loud. I didn't care that he put bass in his voice. I didn't care that he called out city council people specifically. But what I found a little comical are his repeated references to the racist treatment that he feels as though he and members of his family have received as part of some sort of intimidation pertaining to, I guess, the job that he's doing as chief of police there in Baton Rouge. And it's like, sir, you oversee a racist police department. Even if most of the cops there are black themselves, you're black, the police chief, your deputy is black. That don't mean that y'all not racist. That don't mean that y'all are not racially profiling residents of this city, of your community, simply because they are black and they look a certain way. You are overseeing a system, or you are participating in a system, you're participating in an institution of policing, that whereas you as a black cop, you are going to treat black residents with the same disdain, vitriol, and violence that a white cop would in your position. So miss me with your allegations and pearl clutching of racism, sir. I don't want to hear it. I don't even give a shit. If the white folks is talking to you bad, they should be talking to you bad. And the black folks too. So anyway, WBRZ, this is just a small excerpt from when the police chief of Baton Rouge decided to get loud with some of them city council members there in Baton Rouge. Let's take a listen.
Mo.
Yes, sir. I want this matter resolved, and I want the place shut down, and I want everything. I know it's been shut down. I want it gone. And I want all of this resolved. But we can't accept the fact of where everything, the buck starts and stops.
So let's talk bucks. I've been quiet for 4.5. I haven't been here 7 years. I'm sorry, Mayor President, but I'm going to speak my heart on this one. Because let's talk about processes. Let me count. This is important. 14 police officers were terminated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 resigned under investigation. And then there's appeals. And you know what you do? You strip my funding. Are you going to pay the attorney all the money that I already owe them for the bad cops that the Civil Service Board, where we're going to be here tomorrow, and none of y'all going to be here. And y'all sitting here trying to deal off these people's emotions, and some of y'all the problem. Jen Rocker, you sit there, defund the police department's budget from a legal standpoint, and then come here because I don't have legal representation and I got to play lawyer to fight these bad actors. Let's talk facts. Let's talk facts. And then what you do? Then you go and you appoint people to the Civil Service Board that have direct ties to the union. There are 5 people on the Civil Service Board. What's wrong with good law-abiding citizens? You putting people on the Civil Service Board with direct ties to the union and wonder why they reverse the decisions that I make. I've been quiet, but I'm not going to be quiet no more. Where were you when they called my kids gangbangers? Where were you? You know about the pictures when they called my black boys gangbangers, and I prayed for them. When the former chiefs of police sit down and share pictures of me and my girlfriend, and I prayed for them. Where were you, Mocha, when they went to Texas, to the camp, and called me a nigger because I was trying to bring reform in this police department? Where were you then, speaking up for them? Don't sit here and play like you don't know about this group of body that's trying to force the mayor to sit there and fire me for lies and say I only discipline white folks, which is a lie. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Talk about my little black kids, and I prayed for y'all. I prayed for them.
Why? Imagine. See, this is the goofiness of the respectability black politic that I cannot subscribe to. And then this nigga gonna rage himself into a fucking stroke at 52 because he's upset that the system is systeming. Sir, Why in the hell would you ever pray for anybody that would say anything negative about your children? Your children. See, that's that fake Christianity, try to keep you submissive and praying for your master. And, oh, we just got to pray for the master. One day, master will not be mastering us so much if we just keep praying for master. You don't pray for fucking master. You run up in master's house and you burn his shit the fuck down. And this man think that he going to make some change from the inside. Like he is raging against the machine as if this is not an institution. Like, sir, you knew exactly what time it was. And all of his calls for reform have obviously fallen flat. The Baton Rouge Police Department was equipped with body cam, right? And you heard the allegation there in the package, in the first package, uh, where the cops was telling each other, "Hey, you got to delete that body cam footage, man. That shit looks bad." Okay, so that's one reform down in flames. Body cams don't do anything to keep police accountable. Oh, some would argue, well, these cops are under arrest now is because of the body cam. Well, it's 3 years after the fact, and God knows how much fuckery they were allowed to impart on the streets of Baton Rouge in the 3 years since. Like, who knows what the fuck they've been doing? This is just one incident, right? But for this cop, this police chief here, to be so upset that the civil service board, the oversight board, has no teeth. We've talked about this on this program, guys. That y'all boy Killer Mike even suggested that we got to get the police oversight board back like it was under Kasim Reed. Motherfucker, these shits don't work, man. A lot of these civilian oversight boards have no formal authority. They don't have any power. They can make recommendations. They can't hire or fire, and they cannot discipline. I would imagine that the Baton Rouge, even though I don't know it for a fact, because all these, America is such a disaster. Everything is different from state to state. So I don't know how the fuck it works down in Baton Rouge, but I can tell you it doesn't work other places. It doesn't work pretty much everywhere. So why would how this man is describing it? Oh, if you didn't have all these police, people loyal to the police union appointed to the civil service board, and it would work better. No, no, it wouldn't, because it still would be toothless and it still wouldn't have any real meaningful powers to do anything. So let's try that again. I just, in some ways, I love to see the respectable black goofy people. I love to see them short circuit in this way, because you held yourself up as a patsy, as a stooge, like you were going to be a useful idiot for the empire, for the system, and you deluded yourself into thinking that oh well, if I try to change it from the inside, it'll change. No, baby, you get changed. The system don't change, you get changed. You either comply or you get drove the fuck crazy. as this man is clearly getting drove the fuck crazy, having to play Captain Save-A-Ho on a corrupt system. And you heard him run down the numbers. Well, first of all, he said that he has been in this position, I think he said nearly 7 years, and having to deal with, over 20 some officers under some sort of form of investigation, or some have resigned or been fired. What kind of department did you inherit? What kind of culture are you implementing there in Baton Rouge? If the Brave Cave shit, if this the incident of corruption and cover up connected to the recent arrest of these 4 officers beating people in custody and then trying to cover it up, that was all under your watch, chief. Maybe you should get fired. Maybe it's time for you to go. But it doesn't matter if he's go, because it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Like they're gonna hire some other smiling little, geez, I was about to call this man all kinds of Sambos, but I can't help it. They're gonna find him another smiling Sambo to come in there and talk about how much they care about the community and how important it is to see the public trust be restored between the police and the community. They're gonna come in there and give us all the same spiel, the same lines. And does the system change? No. Will a few cops potentially go down or get held to some tiny modicum of accountability? That's a maybe. It's not a guarantee. But you can be assured that just like Chicago police had their black site at Holman Square, Baton Rouge had the Brave Cave, and I can only imagine all the other black sites being operated by local police departments and jurisdictions across this country. I can only imagine the numbers in the thousands, right? Like these are not one offs, these are not two offs. This is part of a larger system of routinely denying people their constitutional rights, their freedoms against unreasonable search and seizure, their ability to request counsel, their ability to remain silent. Black people don't have these rights. Brown people don't have these rights. Indigenous people don't have these rights. And honestly, through the occasional it doesn't happen enough. Maybe occasional is being a little harsh, but it's so important that media outlets that have the resources, that have reporters and researchers and producers on salary, they have to take these stories about police corruption seriously because it is important. It is so critical to public knowledge. Because if the local media, local print, local TV media, whatever, local, independent media outlets, if they simply tell the truth about how the police are operating in their communities, that the truth, I can't even call it propaganda because it's the truth. The truth is going to bring far more people on to our side, either to the defund and reappropriate police funds or outright abolish police. More people are going to be brought to our side as they are made aware of how routinely and regular the fucked up conduct is of police every single day. And most media outlets, most mainstream media, commercial media outlets don't want to do that because they understand that they will be reporting on police corruption stories every day. It would be an everyday thing. And at the end of the day, these people still want access. They still want the police chief to sit down with them and talk to them about what are y'all going to do about the spike in crime? What are we going like they still want that access to the mayor. They still want that access to these people in positions of power, right? See, me, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I've interviewed enough people out here. I understand that access isn't everything. To be honest, the ability to be able to read the situation and call it what it is, to me, is far more valuable than access to any perceived powerful person that I might want to have as part of my people who I've interviewed on my resume. I don't give a fuck about that. I would rather be able to sit here and tell y'all the truth and tell y'all what's really going on than to be like, oh well, I don't want to say too much because then on this person will never give me an interview. I don't give a shit about any of that. About any of that. To be able to not only to speak truth to power, but to repeatedly show and demonstrate the ways in which policing as an institution and the ways that politicians and the Black misleadership class prop up this institution as the solution to crime problems, to poverty problems, to people who are experiencing mental health crisis. Like, the police are not the solution to any of this. And the sooner and the broader that we are able to disseminate these messages and have them permeate truly the minds of our folks, so that when Uncle Cleo is out there, wilding out because he's having a mental health crisis, I hope to God that someone will maybe hear me in the back of their head and not call the police. You know what I'm saying? Or no. He's having a mental health crisis. Don't call the police. Why? He's wilding out. Somebody need to get him. Yeah, but the police are going to come here and make it worse. They're going to make it worse. So let's not call the police. We got to figure something else out. But 911 is not the fucking answer. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. But I think, you guys, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Like, I think that our messages, even on a platform as small as mine, I think our messages related, cops ain't shit et al., right? And the related, the subsequent threads of beats here on the Burn It Down with Kim Brown platform. I'm telling y'all, I think that the shit is getting through, man. Because these cops is out here looking bad. Not to say that they was ever looking good, but the media is out here with a renewed interest in making them look bad in some places, in some instances, yes. And the cops are having difficult times recruiting. Can't seem to get nobody to be police. Isn't that funny how that works?